Hey, what's up guys, it's Marf and welcome back to another video. Today I got something a little different. I finally got a chance to play Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. And you might be thinking to yourself, why have you finally played it? And that's because on my previous device, I was staying on iOS 14.3, and so that meant I couldn't download the game at all. But now, since I have the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I thought, well, wait a minute, this would be a perfect opportunity to give it a shot. And now that I've been able to download it, I'm also running it at the maximum graphics. So it looks the best it can get. And I do have to say right off the bat, I was really surprised, not only from the visuals, but also the gameplay and other things which we'll talk about. But first, I want to introduce why I'm even talking about this game in the first place. So if you've been following my channel for a very long time, you will know that I do have a very big interest in first-person shooter games, especially on mobile. It was the Modern Combat series that really introduced it to me. I was following other YouTubers like B-Nate's Gamer and all those OGs back in the day, and Modern Combat 4 really got me into it because I didn't really have a proper console growing up for a while, so the Modern Combat franchise was sort of my bread and butter when it came to FPS. And so as that franchise evolved, of course, so did the first-person shooter scene on mobile did as well. And the Call of Duty franchise sort of entered it with some games here and there, but it was never really a proper release until Call of Duty Mobile. Now, I did cover that game when it came out, and I have a couple of videos on it, but I was overall kind of disappointed because even though it had the guns and the maps and the loadouts and all of that, what you would expect from a Call of Duty game, it just never felt like COD at its heart. To me, COD Mobile always felt like a Chinese knockoff of Call of Duty, and well, technically it was developed like that, so I guess I'm not technically wrong on that, but it was how it felt in my opinion. And once they started adding all of those crazy skins and crazy cosmetics and all of that, it just immediately felt like, well, not Call of Duty. I was always looking for a more gritty, not realistic experience, because I do enjoy games like Battlefield and that's not realistic, but those games have the atmosphere and the immersion that I'm looking for, and the Modern Combat games delivered that in spades. Even with the Modern Combat Versus release, I still felt like it was a coherent environment and a coherent atmosphere with a story and a background, and Call of Duty Mobile never had that. So coming into COD Warzone, those were sort of my expectations. I was expecting something that had more of an atmosphere, it was more cohesive, and felt like Call of Duty rather than just looking and feeling like a ripoff. And to some extent, I definitely felt that. That was the first thing I noticed, was that it looked and felt exactly like it did on PC. Now, I do have some experience with Warzone on PC, not a whole lot, but I could immediately tell that like the animations and the style was straight up ripped from that game. So that was a good sign, but also a little bit worrying. And this is where I get into my long list of bullet points that I'm going to be talking about throughout this video, because that is where I started to get a little concerned, was when I started noticing things were exactly like the Warzone PC release. Because when it comes to mobile games, I think Gameloft did a really good job of understanding how to adapt those bigger AAA titles, but to a mobile device. So for example, one of the long-standing complaints about Modern Combat was that the game always felt a little simplistic, but in my opinion, that was a really good thing, because one of the new problems that all of these Tencent developed games introduced on mobile is that you can notice during a screenshot or during gameplay is that more than like 90% of the screen is buttons, and that is definitely the case with COD Warzone. In addition to adapting the look and feel of the game, they also adapted all of the mechanics and controls, and that means taking an entire keyboard or controller and slapping it on one screen, which overwhelmed me. And honestly, even after I have put many hours into the game, I still don't feel comfortable with the controls. Now, maybe you can just call me bad at the game, and that could be a common thing with my complaints, which I guess is fair. I'm not going try hard, I'm not playing on a big screen iPad, I'm just playing on my phone at the end of the day, but I always feel like my skill is being held back not by my actual movement on my thumb or whatever, or my map knowledge, it's just because there's too many dang buttons on my screen. I felt that way about COD Mobile, I felt that way about PUBG Mobile, and now I feel the same way about Warzone Mobile. That's one of the things that I really loved about the Modern Combat Kombat franchise was, even though the mechanics and the controls were a little more simple, the skill ceiling was still very high because any player who could understand the controls and get into it could really take advantage of those simplistic controls to raise the ceiling. And in my opinion, yes, the ceiling in this game is incredibly high, just like it is on PC, but it's way harder to get into it as a casual player because there's just so many things I have to learn. Like, for example, why do we need the weapon mounting in a mobile game? Like, honestly, I don't see many people using it. I'm never going to use it. Can we get rid of that button? I know it's a pop-up, but still, it's one of those things where I feel like for the mobile release, they could have gotten rid of it, and I don't think anyone would have cared. Now, of course, you can let me know if you think differently, but it's just things like that that add up over time that make it feel like they tried to introduce literally every single mechanic into mobile when they really didn't have to. So yeah, the controls are absolutely atrocious, and like, I don't understand why, for example, I need to press the grenade button and then press again to actually throw the grenade. I understand on PC you click a button to select the grenade and then click your mouse to throw it, but on mobile that's an extra step that I don't feel is necessary and slows me down. Also, I don't know if you'll notice in this gameplay, it was sometimes hard to capture, but my controls would move around and not stay where they were put, which was incredibly frustrating during high intense matches. Now, one of the issues with playing on mobile is that everyone is relying on Wi-Fi, and unfortunately there wasn't anything that I could notice that would let me know if my connection was poor, only that my animations would start going crazy and people would start teleporting around. I didn't get any notification of a ping difference or anything like that, which I feel is necessary because, well, maybe I just need to sit in a corner and chill for a bit while my connection gets better, but I couldn't tell because there was no signs or any warnings of my bad connection. Of course, this is just due to, well, playing on mobile. There's not much I can do about it, but I would like some sort of notice. Now, one thing I know is super controversial, especially when it comes to first-person shooters, is aim assist. In my opinion, I feel like aim assist on mobile is just necessary. And maybe you can get mad at me and, again, like previously, just call it a skill issue, but if everyone has aim assist, then I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, if you choose to play without aim assist, I think you are crippling yourself a little bit. I don't think you're necessarily more skilled than someone else. If it's there, you should take advantage of it. Now, on PC, I don't think you should have aim assist at all. It just doesn't make sense to me. But on mobile, I feel like it's a bit of a requirement, and in this game, it felt super inconsistent. Sometimes I felt like even though I was trying to control the recoil and track someone's movement, my crosshair was going off of them, and so it was very hard to tell and get a hang for the aim assist in this game, so that was a little bit of a frustrating experience for me. Now, one of the biggest things that I loved about Modern Combat was that everything sort of tied into the story, just like the normal Call of Duty games. So all of the multiplayer maps were sort of themed around the single player mode, and of course the progression, all the guns that you had were actually guns from single player as well, but it just sort of created the universe and the environment of which the game was taking place. And that just doesn't exist in COD Warzone Mobile. I mean, you have guns from Advanced Warfare in this game, from all different aspects of the different Modern Warfare games. You have maps and modes taken from all of these different areas. So overall, it just doesn't feel like there's a very cohesive theme or very cohesive progression going throughout this game. And that's one of the things that really does drive me into a first-person shooter, is a clear linear progression system. And with this game, even with the guns, you can just go into the store and buy whatever, which is kind of annoying in my opinion and doesn't make for a very immersive experience. Now, I understand that nowadays games are super different than what happened when I was growing up with Modern Combat, with Call of Duty, with Battlefield, and those types of games sort of still being within their roots or within their golden years, but it still is a bit of a pain point for me because even for just new players, you can be really overwhelmed, and without a very simple linear progression system, it could be difficult for new players to find what works best and what doesn't. So overall, even though I've had tons of complaints about this game, I really do feel like it is the next generation of mobile experiences. I really felt like with COD Mobile, PUBG Mobile, and those other games, it really felt like exactly those titles. It was whatever game it was, but the mobile version, so just a downgrade. With this, however, Warzone feels different compared to those games. It really truly does feel like they actually ported the PC game onto mobile, but that did bring along all of those issues that I just discussed, including the controls, which I think is the biggest pain point. Now I just feel like there has to be a balance that takes place between bringing the AAA feeling experience, but also keeping in mind those mobile deficiencies, or not necessarily deficiencies, but maybe compromises that you have to make when bringing such a big game experience onto a mobile phone. So overall, I really am enjoying the experience I'm having with Warzone Mobile. I'm getting that incredibly intense feeling at the end of a battle royale, and I feel that chaos when it comes to the normal multiplayer modes, which I think is a really nice addition, even though I do think they should add some different maps, because right now they all feel a little too cluttered. And lastly, I do want to point out the aim down sights feature with the snipers is so inconsistent. You'll see me aim down sights and then just not shoot. That's not me messing up, that's the game not registering that I'm trying to shoot, which is one of the most frustrating experiences I've had. So if they could just work out little things like that, again with maybe the controls and the interface, I feel like this game would be even better. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you guys think of Warzone Mobile in the comments section down below, and I will see you all later.